for the newcomers, the people that
I
are
and
working in the business?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome viewers back. Welcome back to Noor TV and welcome back to our Britain. Today we have a special guest in the name of Safaraz Ali, who has been working very hard here in Birmingham and right across the UK, particularly with youngsters who are deciding to go into apprenticeship and training and enterprise and so forth. And for that reason, we're trying to make sure that we can gain as much knowledge from Safaraz. However, viewers keep this in mind, neither myself, my guest or Noor TV is responsible for any advice that we give you. Please seek your independent advice. Safaraz, as I said, we have many questions, whether we will get through or not, but we'll keep going without stopping. Do you get paid for apprenticeship training?
So
and is it compulsory to get paid?
So apprenticeship is actually a job. It's a career. So effectively, you are working. Yeah. The idea is the fact that you're working and you're earning and you're learning. So it's different to an internship. So internship is when you're actually going somewhere for experience. So again, there is a slight confusion in the marketplace where some employers think an apprenticeship is an internship and an internship is an apprenticeship because the words are slightly similar. But an apprenticeship is actually a job. It's actually in law as well. The fact that there's certain rules and regulations that you have to follow. There's minimum hourly rate that you have to pay. So £3.50 is your present rate, which is increasing to £3.70. So it's effectively it is a job with training, which is different to an internship, which is more like work experience. And there's other schemes as well, which are different. And sometimes people do get slightly mixed up.
Many youngsters, particularly 16 plus school leavers, who are probably thinking, which is the best company? If I was a parent and I was watching this program now, the question that would be at the back of my mind would be, okay, if that's the case, who would you recommend? I'm talking about companies which are, international companies or nationally in the United Kingdom. Who would you recommend if a parent would want to send their son or daughter to take part in these apprenticeships and to get involved in like they say, bigger companies? Who would you sort of recommend for them to go ahead with? Okay.
This is something that we look at on a day-to-day basis. There's a lot of, obviously, as you said, there's a lot of large employers now who've got apprenticeship schemes. There's very similar to how they've started out with the graduate schemes. There's a whole sort of process and a plan. They've got individual people that look after these schemes for them as well, and they're marketing and highlighting these. A lot of information is available on the public sort of websites as well, so National Apprenticeship Service website. With that information, you could do some research in terms of obviously their recruiting, what sort of success rate they've had before, what sort of timeliness they've had. And again, it's because we work in a review economy, most of that information is on there in terms of experience.
When I meant which companies to go for, I'm talking about what UK companies offer degree apprenticeships, basically. So when a 16-year-old leaves a school, the way I see it is there's no point going into apprenticeship if there's no future for you within that organisation or company. So which companies would you, on top of your head, being in this profession for many years, which companies offer an apprenticeship degree for a student to leave school and then join them, and at the end of those couple of years or that period, they will end up with the best quality of work and the best quality of academic qualification?
So a lot of employers now have got a routeway, a pathway effectively for a career. So some are looking at 16, some are looking at the age of 18, and some are slightly older age groups as well. So as an example, the Royal Air Force, RAF, are actively seeking people from the age of 16, and they've got a routeway, the pathway for that individual, depending on what what sort of skill sets they have, what they're looking at. And again, what you'll find is you've got the public sector, which again, if you think about public sector as a whole, including obviously the British Army, the RAF, various other these are all sort of pathways that they've created. So again, a lot of information available. There's a lack of information, lack of real information in terms of schools. So there's not much careers advice at this moment in time. But most of that advice is on government websites, and it's also available, on the National Apprenticeship website as well. And what you'll find is that most employers, they're promoting this, and they'll have pages and pages of documentation, information available in terms of their particular aspects. As well as employers directly, you can always go to an independent training provider and ask them in terms of who are they engaged with, who are they currently working with as well. So you've got that added benefit of going to an employer as well as obviously the learning provider. In some cases, you don't have that with sort of colleges and so forth. You've got another party that you can go to. But in terms of actually your direct question, most FTSE 100 companies have got apprenticeship programs. Most of the 250 companies have got apprenticeship programs, and what you find is that most people who supply services to any of those FTSE companies and also any public sector will have and would have embraced apprenticeship programs as well. So it's a common theme there, and most employers would have some sort of program. Many
Parents viewing this program and many youngsters, they would probably think now that you've answered this is interlinking question with our previous question about which companies to get into. Now parents and maybe youngsters will be thinking, well, Safaraz has mentioned, advised us on a few companies. What is the best trade to get into? So for a youngster, what is the best trade that you see personally? You see that this trade is going to be, achieving such a high results in the coming future. Whether it's in production, whether it's in retail, whether it's in manufacturing. Which one do you personally believe, or which way can you direct these individuals? What is the best trade to learn, and what is the best trade to get into? And I'm sure these questions are interlinking with each other.
Yeah. Again, that relates to the conversation earlier on where you're talking about salary increases and so forth, and where the real growth has been is in jobs like engineering, manufacturing, IT, construction. These are where the real growth is. Health and social care. So these are your probably top 5 areas where there's significant growth that's occurring, and these are areas have changed slightly from maybe 3 years ago. So at this point in time, manufacturing is a growth area where previously it's been on the decline, particularly in terms of advanced manufacturing. So our manufacturing sector is going through a whole change, and in terms of our locality, you've got the Midlands engine, you've got much more manufacturing jobs that have been created, and most of those jobs are being created in an apprenticeship sector, in an apprenticeship field. Engineering as well, and again progression for development, for salary increases, for actually qualifications in those areas. Manufacturing, engineering, construction, IT is a massive boom area, and health and social care.
Keeping the politics out of it for a second, but obviously the fact is that Brexit is a big issue. And the fact is that we've been told that we will be out of the European Union by sometimes in March 2019. Yeah. Do you believe, very briefly, do you believe that this will affect apprenticeships, drop of apprenticeships further, or do you believe that the Brexit would not make any effect to apprenticeships at all? Because you've touched upon manufacturing, you've touched about engineering, and let's be very honest about it, we have seen, even up to right today, we have seen many companies, many manufacturing companies, many serviceable companies, providing services, and many other industries who have either left the UK or either in the process of leaving the United Kingdom. And obviously when you've got companies leaving or in the process of leaving, apprenticeships don't make any difference, to be honest. If the company is not there, there's no apprenticeship, simple as that. Do you believe that Brexit is better in terms of apprenticeship, or do you believe it's going to cause further fall in apprenticeships? Okay.
In terms of our, in terms of ESF and Europe, in terms of European Union, ESF, particularly European Social Fund, had a big contribution in apprenticeships. A lot of the 16 to 18 apprenticeships were co-funded by ESF. That money is no longer going to be there. So what's actually happened is the government has changed the scheme in terms of how they fund apprenticeships. So now what you're finding is, as a result of the apprenticeship levy, the larger companies are now funding apprenticeships. So apprenticeships per se are funded, but in terms of the economy and jobs and so forth, in terms of those particular changes, from what I've seen and what our thoughts are and what the government's predicting, there's going to be an increase in apprenticeships, particularly in terms of new job sets.
Your personal opinion, because you've been in this profession for many years, your personal opinion, is Brexit going to affect apprenticeships for the best or for the worst?
So at this moment in time, the numbers are rising, apprenticeship numbers are rising. I know it differs from the statistics that you're given because it's in terms of job outcomes. So what we're finding is there's more and more investment taking place. There's more investment that the government's making. So the government at the moment have gone through a number of programs which effectively they're sort of directing strategy. There's an industrial strategy document that came in place, I believe, in November. So it's been 3 or 4 months. So there's much more investment in infrastructure. There's much more investment in terms of actually, local investment. So foreign direct investment is, they want to get more of that, particularly from outside outside companies, and that seems to be on the rise. So we're very optimistic about the whole.
So you believe that, your personal opinion, you believe that Brexit won't affect apprenticeship much?
From the numbers that we've seen and the inquiries that we've seen, again, we do the Asian Apprenticeship Awards, which is something that, again, we work with large organisations, and our experience with the large organisations is their numbers are increasing, so they're investing more and more in apprenticeships. So I can only go from experience.
Absolutely fine. This is your personal opinion of how you have researched the market and how you are involved in this particular sector of work. The world of work is changing rapidly.
Yeah.
We all know that. How to build a fulfilling career in this new business? What's the reality?
You are right. The world of work is changing, and it's changing quite rapidly. Where previously it was about, again, a lot in my day and probably in your day as well. We were told the fact that if you take a university degree course, you're effectively sorted. There's an opportunity for a job, and the job is down there. But what's actually happened is that the market has changed, employers' outlook have changed, and we've had to change our outlook in terms of budget, being more reactive. And what we're finding is some of the things that we were taught no longer apply. So we're in a position where knowledge is doubling sort of every year. In terms of our ability to react and adapt is now key. Our skill sets in terms of what we require is changing as well. And what we're finding is that we've got to change as individuals to actually survive and thrive in this day and age.
So for us, universities, another institutions which many, we're very privileged to state this, that we have the best universities here in the United Kingdom, in fact around the world. Some of the universities that we have are well recognized right across the globe. You've got Oxford, you've got Cambridge, you've got Aston. These are some of the top on the list. Where do universities fit in with training people for the new world of work, and they have adapted to such change? So where are these universities going to fit themselves with this new work? I'm talking particularly about universities now. Okay,
in terms of universities, they've actually changed already somewhat, because they've taken down the higher degree apprenticeship route. They're working more with employers, where previously they were academic institutions doing a lot of research. What you're finding is that universities now have got partnerships with employers. They're doing a lot more employee engagement. They're talking to employers in terms of what their requirements are, and what you're finding is that they're adapting to that. Yes, they're still doing the basic courses, the degree level, the degree programs, but what you're finding is that they're sort of now looking at the further education market, but they're also looking at sort of leadership and management courses, shorter, sharper programs, that fit in with employers and employers' needs as well. And that's, I think, one of the bigger changes that universities have adopted. What I would also say, Shazad, is that in terms of British Asian community, we've got a high percentage of people that are going down university route. We're overrepresented in terms of some aspects of people going to university, where previously we probably had a shortage of people, particularly from the British Asian community going to university. Now, much more and more, and we're overrepresented. But what we're finding is that a lot of them are coming out, but they're finding that they're underemployed. They're finding it harder to get jobs, harder to actually start start their career, because the employers are looking for experience, employers are looking for something slightly different, and doing a 3-year sort of degree course, they're coming out slightly different to what the employer's requirements are and the needs are.
And for that reason, Safaraz, we're having a lot of employment because, like you just stated very truly, that employers are looking for particular qualities within individuals, whether it's academic or whether it's experience, hands-on experience. But what happens to those unemployment, so people regarding unemployment, how do they improve their chances? They've got to start from somewhere.
Yes, you do. I mean, at the moment, unemployment rates are at an all-time low. There has been a slight increase in terms of government initiatives. So what you've got is the raising of participation age. So somebody can't leave now education or training until the age of 18, where before they could have left at the age of 16. So you've got a situation where there's a lot more degree level people that are firstly underemployed. So they're working in areas that are not either really suitable to their education or career, but also a lot of them are unemployed. And what they're finding is that they haven't got the experience and they haven't got really some of the training or the skills that are required for what employers are looking at. They're not really being coached properly or mentored properly in terms of actually going out there and looking for career. So they're making sort of, in some cases, basic errors. In some cases, they're finding that they haven't got that sort of support mechanism within their family or within their sort of immediate sort of network where they can guide them or support them in terms of actually getting onto the career ladder.
And sometimes the issue is that even when one is in direct employment, even if they are working, sometimes they don't make that sort of progression that they need to make. I've particularly seen that in many organizations. I spoke to many individuals, being in this profession, you speak to many people and, you carry out your research. What happens to those people? How can they progress? So for one, they are working, but they're feeling that they're not achieving the target, they're feeling they've not been promoted, they're feeling they are lacking something, maybe within themselves or within the organization. Either way. What happens? How do these people improve his or her job prospectus?
I think, Shazad, you're exactly right. There's a lot of people who feel there's a glass ceiling in terms of their progression. They're feeling the fact that that what they're doing is more a job rather than a career. They're just working to it's a job with no prospects. Where a career, they can actually plan their future and they can sort of plan what they're doing. And they're feeling that they're not in control. And a lot of this is down to obviously the employer in some aspects of it, but also down to themselves in terms of how they position themselves within the workplace, how they map out their career. And what you're finding is that some of these things they haven't thought through, and some of them don't know in terms of what they should be doing in terms of building their own reputation, which is again key. If they build their reputation in that sector, which is partly to do with the network they have, partly to do obviously their individual competencies, and look at how they can actually plan. And if effectively, you've got to look at your career as a business, and you've got to plan your career. You've got to plan how you do things, and you've got to be a little bit strategic in terms of that. And what you're finding is a lot of individuals sometimes lack that planning, lack in terms of the things that they need to do to make a name for themselves. And a lot of the time, it's actually creating your own brand within the marketplace, your own reputation within the marketplace. And sometimes what the individual wants is really somebody to lay it out. And in most cases, you've got to plan that yourself, or you've got to take the initiative. But there are opportunities there. The government also realizes that there is something called unconscious bias, where sometimes there's restrictions. Sometimes there's people, particularly from what we call the BME community, the minority community, BME community, where there's lack of progression. So the government's listened to a report that Ruby McGregor-Smith did last year, which talks about the fact that we want to be in a position where we can take some positive action as well if we need to, but at the same time we want to be in a position where people from the BME Black Asian minority community, as well as other sort of other communities as well, can progress.
So Faraz, we only have a few more minutes left, and I have approximately 4 or 5 questions to get through, so I believe it's going to be fighting for time here.
Okay.
Very, very briefly, coming back to some of the points that we were discussing about apprenticeship, I know we've touched about employment, work and so on, because this all interlinks. It's all interlinking with each other. Can you get UCAS points for apprenticeships?
Okay. So
very briefly, sir.
So at this moment in time, UCAS is obviously different, completely. It's a different system. There's UCAS Progress that you can look at. You know, so all apprenticeships now currently are on the UCAS Progress system, and what they're trying to do is be in a position where the apprenticeship that you do is on a single currency, so it can be matched. So that's where it's heading towards. Okay. So you know, as a one system for all education and training going forward.
Particular when it comes to higher level apprenticeship, what is the maximum? I know we've briefly touched upon that. Just to clarify that, what is the most higher level of apprenticeships?
Okay, these are called degree apprenticeships. So it's something that the universities are looking at. So what you're finding is that these are linked with employers. So most universities in the country now are offered degree apprenticeships. The apprenticeship rules in England are slightly different to Wales and slightly different to Scotland. Each of those countries have got their own rules. So what we're talking about at the moment is in England. So what you're finding is it depends on the qualification that you're looking to. So these degree apprenticeships will lead on to a professional qualification. So effectively you can become, you know, a chartered accountant, effectively going down that particular route. But then you have to match your qualification to the professional standards. Yeah.
Is there an upper age limit for apprenticeships? Because I'm sure there are not just 16-year-olds watching this program. There are people from all backgrounds and all ages. Yeah. Is there any upper age limit for apprenticeships? So
2,000 apprenticeships,
okay,
which are recruitment matched, which are again jobs that are created, and then there's apprenticeships which are in the workplace. Most apprenticeships are presently over the age of 24. So you know, you've got adults that are going into apprenticeships, but they're already in employment, which is not linked to, you know, the apprenticeship rate. So somebody who's in a management position could take on an apprenticeship program. So there's no age group there's no age restriction in terms of that. So you've got to differentiate the fact that apprenticeship isn't just about young people, isn't just about jobs. It's actually about training for people that are already employed.
And I can assure you, many people, you know, what you've just answered, many people might have not been, you know, known about this point that we have just raised, and you've answered that. People generally, when you talk about apprenticeships, the first thing that comes to mind of many parents, particular, is that children when they leave school. Apprenticeship, but you know, apprenticeship is for everybody. There are different routes, different ways, but it's for everybody. There is no age limit on that. Is an apprenticeship classed as a full-time student? So, for example, you know, when you've got a student going at college or going into apprenticeship, obviously because you said it's, you know, you've got the work, employment and a study at the same time. Are they then classed as a full-time apprenticeship student, or do they carry on with the academic, or how does this...
So an apprenticeship is somebody who's employed. So they've got a job. So that's the first thing. They're not actually a student in that respect, in terms of, you know, the way you would be a sort of a university student or a college student. So the main occupation is the fact that they've got a job and they're studying at the same time. So you've got to look. You've put them into. You've got to put them into an employed category. But what you'll find is that some of the benefits that, you know, of a student they will get. So you know, they can still apply for an NUS card. They can sometimes still get those sort of discounts. But they are employed, and differentiating from somebody who's a full-time student.
Safaraz, just before we run out of time, your final word to those parents who are watching this program, Ava Britain, particular youngsters who are 16 and just left school or about to leave school, and at the same time for those individuals, as you have clearly stated, that there is no age limit. Your final word about apprenticeship to all our viewers, obviously slightly differentiating the youngsters and those individuals who still maybe in their minds believe, oh, it's too late for me, I can't go on to do this. it's never too late to do anything. Your final words.
We're in a world of change. A lot of change is taking place. We're also in a world of lifelong learning as well. So all of us have to sort of learn as we go along. We have to react and adapt, and we're learning as we, in terms of, in terms of our occupation and in terms of life as a whole. So learning doesn't stop. In terms of the apprenticeship route, it's a credible route as an alternative to university, as an alternative to further education. It's not a route for somebody who's failed college. It's not. The people see it as is somebody who's failed college. Okay, we'll take an apprenticeship. It's not meant to. It's a credible route for
the best of both worlds, basically. So you got training and academic qualifications. Safaraz, due to time, Safaraz Ali, thank you very, very much for coming onto New TV. Thank you very much for coming into Have Britain. Much appreciated, sir. And I'm sure thousands of viewers watching us here in the United Kingdom and millions around the 170 countries, they will appreciate every single word of information that you have provided. I'm sure it's going to be much appreciated, particularly with youngsters who are watching this program, and I can assure you there's thousands of them, and people, parents who are watching this program. Many thanks.
Thank you so much, Shazad. Really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Viewers, there you go. That was a professional who deals daily with apprenticeships, daily with people who need advice and support, and putting them on the right track, providing information that they can then take advantage of that information and to make sure what career path suits them. And I think, particular, to be honest with you, I don't think anybody could have given you better information or advice than my guest here, Safaraz Ali, in the studio, who has expertise and knowledge in this particular career and apprenticeships and work and employment and so on. So once again, I thank him for coming to New TV, particularly in Have Britain. But the message was very clear from him, which was apprenticeship is not just made for those people who have failed school, who have failed college, or who have failed university. Apprenticeship nowadays, the world is changed. You've heard that from the profession. It's changed. The system is changed. The education system is changed. Academic qualification have changed the way they used to be, like 3 years university programs or 4 years. Now, again, which he mentioned in his discussion interview, that many employers are looking for the best of both worlds. They are looking for people who've got hands-on experience. At the same time, they're looking for people who've got academic qualifications. So therefore, taking an apprenticeship courses doesn't seem to lower your grade or your qualification in any way, other than somebody who's going to a university and who's got a 3 years degree. So these things have no longer any sort of position within the apprenticeship schemes. Go out there. If you can find a decent apprenticeship course, if you can find, above all, if you can find a decent company who can give you a great deal, at the same time give you qualifications and training to academic qualification, meaning a degree level, the advice was snap the hands off, go for it, and believe you me that you will achieve a lot more in the coming future. With those words, thank you very much for watching New TV. Thank you very much for Have Britain. Many thanks to Shazad Iqbal Noor Saab for giving us this platform, and also viewers, keep Hazrat late Qibla Hazrat Pir Allahuddin Siddiqui Rahmatullah in your praise. Till next time, keep watching New TV, keep watching Have Britain. Every Monday 5 minutes past 7, a repeated program is 1 o'clock on a Tuesday, and a further repeat, a third episode, is then played Saturday morning at 9 AM in the morning. Till next week, see you same time, same place. Allah Hafiz. Look after yourself, look after each other.